You know how we do. Hello, folks. Hello, hello. You already know what we about. Let me get everything shared out. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You already heard a little bit. Heard a little bit of what we're going to be doing today. We're breaking down some incredible memories. We're scratching the college football itch that I know I'm feeling. Pretty sure you guys are feeling it too. But we're just a couple weeks, man, away from college football coming back. And you know, when it comes to me and this world and what we're all about here, what we are about right here, okay, is learning the game of college. Taking the lessons from the game of college football, applying them to businesses. All right, we'll do all that in a second. Let me just get everything shared out. And we'll do all that in a second. Let me just get everything. All right, let's go. One thing, hold up, I need to see something real quick. Ah, nice. So it's back. Okay. All right. Good morning. Good. All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, whatever time of day you may be tuning into this. Great to have you. If you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, thank you again. Be sure you like and comment, subscribe to the channel. First and foremost, let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new to me, new to the channel, new to what I'm all about. My name, Aswan the Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current five-time, very soon, folks, very soon to be six-time published author and educator. What I do, what I create this whole brand, this whole framework, this whole concept that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as coherently and has that passion, that dog, that eagerness to them, that strength to them, that mindset of a championship youth or high school football team. I specifically tell you it's championship youth or high school football team because by the time you get to, and you're going to hear a little bit of this in today's episode, when you get up to those college and those pro ranks, a lot of money and a lot of politics become involved with the game. So I teach business owners, hey, you want your team running like the championship youth and high school teams because there's hunger, there's eagerness to them. If you look at those kids' eyes, man, you look at those young players' eyes, they have such possibility, so much ambition. They see the game, they see their team as they're working together as one. All right, you see how you're like, oh, I did that as one, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, today we have a special episode as we do it every single day over here. We have Trapreneur Wednesday, where we're doing something brand new, where I'm comparing and contrasting. Now, I've sort of already talked a little bit about it throughout the week. When I went a couple weeks ago, I went to my first Marlins game. But today on Trapreneur Wednesday, we're going to discuss the Orange Bowl versus the Marlins Stadium and what it was all about. Because, again, my perspective being such a heavy consumer of college football, I have a admiration for what the University of Miami Orange Bowl, what they've done for the game of football for me. Again, you're going to hear me talk about this in the article. Three teams that I truly root for. My main team in college football is the Michigan Wolverines, all right? But then after that, the Florida State Seminoles and the Maryland Terrapins, because that's my hometown is from Maryland, and Florida State, the Spear, we wore the Spear so the reason I'm a Michigan fan is because when I played for the White Oak Warriors, we had the wing helmets, and then we went from the wing helmets to the Florida State Spear when we won the championship for Pop Warner. So because of that, Michigan, Florida State are the two teams that I always like to see well. But as far as my love for the game, you cannot love the game and not have some appreciation for what the University of Miami football program has done for the game of football, especially growing up in Maryland. Me being I'm a diehard Redskins fan, And then also Ray Lewis was my guy. Like certain people that you don't talk about around me that are off limits. It's Ray Lewis and Jay-Z. So Ray Lewis was my guy. And then he played for obviously did what he did with the Ravens, Hall of Famer, but then he came out of the U. So between Ray Lewis and then the late Sean Taylor, Clinton Porter, Santana Moss, Ed Reed, Kellen Winslow, Vince Wilfork, I mean, the list goes on. Edrin James, Willis McGahee, boy. Warren Sapp, Michael, I mean, the names are endless when it comes to the U and football and what they did for the game. They created an era the era of football that made me want to become a South Florida resident, because, seeing that from a distance, it's like, okay, there's something real going on out here. This is what we do. This is what football is all about. So I went on a little tangent there because I'm so excited to have this conversation and really dive into some of the details. But before I do, let me get through a few announcements. And then we'll jump into the article. We'll jump into the article today and then go from there. All right. So first and foremost, if you are a business owner, all right, and you have not yet, make sure you go to you heard me correctly, freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I create a very, very simple formula for you to follow. All right. Establishing measurables plus a professional distance, that's going to equal a productive environment. Just simply go there, click the button, and I put your information in, and I will send you a 10-step process that can at least get the ball rolling, get you started, get you moving in the right direction. If you are sick and tired of every couple months, every few months, you're dealing with turnover, and you got to find this one, it is a very, very frustrating. It's a frustrating reality, and you want to avoid that. So it's the first step. That's the first step. Now, if you like the way I'm sounding, you like what I'm talking, you want this energy to be infused in your organization, and you want your staff to be like, man, that Osborne guy, man, I want my staff thinking like that. I want my staff doing the things. I want my staff, really, really plugging in and really making the most of the opportunity I'm giving them, which is what I do, what I preach every single day. And you're ready to have me just come in and speak to your organization directly. Bump the free guide and just go to makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. You can book me to speak. You can shop and purchase a couple copies of my books. There's boxing lessons. There's all sorts of things right there. Well, not all sorts of things. It's really just a matter of books, workshops, and boxing lessons, because part of the process, and believe it or not, there's a lot of similarities when it comes to teaching boxing as it is employee development, because you're developing in general. So that's something that I should be getting that as we speak. And you can do your research on me and all that kind of stuff. So here it is. It is makeyourmove.com. Go to Innovative Teamwork to look at what I'm all about. Turn your business into a championship team. It's common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Osborne, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover, or, hear me clearly now, or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. All right. Here we go. So we are jumping in today, Wintrapreneur Wednesday. Again, doing something a little bit different. I don't normally do it. Normally on Wintrapreneur Wednesday, it's either a feature of somebody else, or something that I have Wintrapreneur stories for days, because I am the ultimate Wintrapreneur. I'm the one that coined the phrase. You can Google it right now, and you won't see anybody else talking about Wintrapreneur. The reason I call myself a 5, soon to be 6-time published author is because book number 6, it's here. It's here. I can feel it. I've been getting a chance to work on it lately, and I could feel it coming together. It's here, baby. It's here. All right. I will be doing something a little different and talking to you about the difference between the Orange Bowl and the Marlins stadium, all right, because a couple weeks ago was my first visit to the Marlins stadium for an actual Marlins game, all right. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've always had the image. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this as I get through the article, but I want to just put it out there now. I've always had such a negative image of that stadium because I only knew it I initially knew it from the perspective of the 30 for 30 when, it all went down and, they were talking about they had a two-part series. They had the U part 1 and the U part 2, and they were talking about how college football was hit with a decades long of a hurricane, and they tore down the Orange Bowl where the Miami Hurricanes used to play their games for the Marlins Stadium. And then, the way it was kind of projected in that 30 for 30 was as if it was something that wasn't good for the Miami community or wasn't a good thing for what they were trying to build and stuff like that. And it was very eye-opening to me to see how all of these things came together and how the media can spin things one way, how national media, national presence can spin things one way. But when you go out and experience it, when you go out and have, actually experience whatever it is you're going to experience, how that's a completely different story than what the mainstream media like to tell. All right. So all that being said, let's dive right into the article. And again, if you are not following me on medium.com at Move Swiftly 44, I am going to be working on some really, really special book packages for the people who are following me on Medium. So make sure you do so as soon as possible, especially as we're getting into football season and we're approaching mid-July and things are going to get going really quick. All right. So here we go. Wintrapreneur Wednesday, Orange Bowl versus Marlins Stadium. And you see me there. This was me this past December. I drove to Orlando it was an incredible, let me just got to talk you through where this picture came from. I drove to Orlando. I'm a diehard Michigan fan. So I knew as soon as the Michigan tickets went on sale and I knew they were going to be playing in Tampa, I bought the tickets to go to the Michigan versus Alabama ReliaQuest Bowl game. But before that, I drove to Orlando to see the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which was against Iowa State in Miami. So it was a whole bowling. I went from South Florida, Orlando, and then drove to Tampa, and then back to South Florida. And then I remember for my birthday, it was Panama City, Atlanta, came back to Panama City, then went through Tallahassee, went through Gainesville, all of that. So I visited all the major Florida schools. Like I was telling you guys, I'll probably talk more about this next week, but this past weekend I went to St. Augustine, and that was the final stop in terms of the places that I've been able to visit in Florida. So all that being said, let's get into it. It's enough distractions now. All right. Reading directly from the article for my podcast listeners. All right. Happy Wintrapreneur Wednesday. Before we dive into today's legacy versus longevity lesson, let's revisit a core principle. A wintrapreneur is someone who has a clear entrepreneurial vision for their life and a job that pays them every 2 weeks aligned with that vision. So you have something in your life that you want to do that's entrepreneurial, that's going to be very challenging, very tough, a whole lot of work involved, and you have to be very patient when it comes to how it matriculates and how you're able to get there. And you have a job that aligns with that vision, and the job and your entrepreneurial vision, they're just ticking. They're working together. They're like Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, or if you want to use a different example, a Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, or let's do a different one. Let's do a couple of Patrick. We'll go Patrick Mahomes and a Travis Kelce. They're just boom, 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 boom. In fact, okay, I gotta write that one down. We might have to do that. Entrepreneur. Hold on. Let's go QB. Okay, what we do, man. That's what we do. Stuff happens. That's something. You gotta make sure stuff gets jotted down. All right, so here we go. You've heard of entrepreneurs, but here in the Move, reading directly from the article now for my podcast listeners. You've heard of entrepreneurs, but here in the Move Swiftly sports marketing world, we're putting our creative stamp on it. All right. If you've been following along this week, we've been unpacking the theme of complementary versus competitive offers. And today we're taking it to the field. Literally. You like how I did that? Taking it to the field. Literally. You're like, anyway, let's talk legacy versus longevity, emotion versus opportunity. Let's talk Orange Bowl versus Orange Bowl versus Marlins Stadium. All right. Let me put it up real quick. I'm actually put that phrase right there in Google so we can all see it. Orange Bowl was demolished in 2008. Lone Depot Park, the home ballpark of the Miami Marlins, Major League Baseball, was built on the site. So we see it right there, 2008, just to give you some perspective now. So give you some time frame. I graduated from high school in 2007. So this was only a year after I graduated from high school. And again, this was around, and this was an era of college football that was insane. All right. It was insane because, all right. And that's actually exactly what I went on to do. After I graduated from Good Counsel, I went to go play. Oh man, look at that. It's already up. Good. Nice. You see? I just Googled it. I'm now seeing my thumbnail right here. So I'm already, Google. If somebody was to Google Orange Bowl versus Marlins Stadium, you're already going to see the thumbnail here. Cool. All right. So anyway, that's what happened. 2008, they demolished the Orange Bowl for the Major League Baseball Lone Depot Park. All right. So here it is. A football-centric childhood with a broader vision. All right. Speaking of myself now. Growing up a dedicated, obsessive, and halfway decent football player, I constantly heard stories about what football really looked like in the great gridiron states, Texas, Ohio, and of course, football. That mystique is a huge part of what ultimately pulled me to plant roots here in the Sunshine State. Excuse me. And as a true student of the game, I couldn't help but be drawn to the University of Miami Hurricanes. Now, let me make something clear. All right, and I've already made it clear to you guys. I'm going to make it clear again. Say it again. I am a diehard Michigan Wolverines fan. I root for Florida State and my home state, the University of Maryland. All right, but Miami, that admiration runs deeper than fandom. It's about legacy. It's about culture. It's about impact. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, the late Sean Taylor, Clinton Porter, Santana Moss, Warren Sapp, Vince Wilfork, all of them. I mean, that's just a small snippet of them. Reggie Wayne, you had Michael Irvin, you had, Kellen Winslow was him. Willis McGahee, Edrin James, Frank. I mean, listen, man, they had players, players, all right? All of them are Miami products who've helped define an entire era of the NFL. Growing up a Washington Redskins fan, watching former Canes dominate, I saw firsthand how that pipeline from Coral Gables to Canton was built. So yes, even as an outsider, the decline of the Hurricanes program has always felt personal. So just to translate that for you guys, because of the fact that I was such a student of the game, and I loved the game, and I loved what it represented, and I loved whether it was NFL or college football, I saw the University of Miami as like the Mecca. And then to see now to where the decline of the program, it was like, come on, man, this ain't right. Something is wrong. And so what happened, and just to give you, so I'll pull up some context there. Just to have you guys understand. Actually, you know what? We'll keep reading. I'll keep reading, and then I'll break it down for you guys. Let me just keep reading because I'm training myself to keep these at 35 minutes. So let me keep reading, and then we'll go through it. So the Orange Bowl, a legacy loss. All right, the Hurricanes of old didn't just win games; they created moments, and all of those moments were born in one legendary place, the Orange Bowl. All right, it was gritty, it was loud, it was home. Tearing down the Orange Bowl wasn't just a construction decision, it was a culture shift. Miami football moved to Hard Rock Stadium, a modern venue shared with the Miami Dolphins, and the identity started to fade. No longer did the Canes have that grungy standalone cathedral of chaos to call their own, and the recruiting battle got tougher. No campus stadiums mean fewer visceral moments, less juice, less buy-in. But then came the flip side. Lone Depot Park, longevity over legacy. In the place of the Orange Bowl rose Lone Depot Park, the home of the Miami Marlins. It's not just a baseball stadium. It's a symbol of Miami's evolving priorities. Year-round programming, international accessibility, especially to Latin America, climate control versatility, scalable commercial partnerships. Let's break down all four of those moments real quick. So even out here, because I currently reside in West Palm Beach, not too far from, literally, I could take my run. I could take a run from, if I wanted to. Actually, I might actually do this. I could start at Cacti Park. I think it's called Cacti Park now, and then Dean Chevrolet Stadium. One is located right here on 45th Street, and the other one is in Abacoa. And it's very possible. It's very close proximity to each other. In fact, I may just consider doing it just because I'm saying it now. But I could take a run from one stadium to the next. These are two stadiums that are within the same area, within walking distance or running distance from each other. And they're for the farm team. They're not even for major league teams. So the major league teams built these stadiums for farm systems. So it's just more games, more things that you can do when it comes to baseball because they have a solid system. See, the Orange Bowl, you can't service a community year round the way that baseball stadiums are able to service a community. That's the point here. And when you're talking about how to keep the stadium filled, you can't just be going off what's going to be happening in that portion of the year. Only when the Miami Hurricanes football program plays there, then it gets packed. Okay, well, what about all the other 300 some odd days out of the year? These are things that you have to think about when you remove yourself from kind of that fandom piece where you were just you were just happy about you were just a fan of one particular program. You got to understand there's a global reach. There's a lot of taxpayer money that's coming out for these stadiums. And in fact, I remember actually when I first got out here to South Florida, I went to the Miami spring game. And there was a big recruit. There was a big recruit that had just signed, or at least what they thought was a big recruit. His name was Tate Martell. Tate Martell just left Ohio State and came to Miami. And, there was a lot of excitement. And it was like, oh, man, Tate Martell going to save the program. He's going to save the program and all that. And he throws an interception. I remember I was, talking to some of the fans and all that. They're like, oh, man, your stadium just threw an interception, man. You see a lot of depressed Miami Hurricane fans. If you ever really watch, there's nothing like watching college football with some Miami Hurricanes fans, because you see a lot of hurt people, man. It's not funny, but it is, because I've been there. Again, I'm a Redskins fan. You see a lot of hurt folks that experienced and lived through the U with the 80s and the guys, and now you see this, where it's just like, come on, Joe. Come on. So it's always fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, I did find a venue to host a college football show this season. So, we're definitely got a lot of great things coming down. So that wasn't a move that was made. And let's not going back directly to the article for my podcast listeners. All right. This wasn't a move made in nostalgia. It was a move made in strategy in terms of complementary value, right? Just like we talked about yesterday, it's more complementary to have this baseball organization versus this college football organization. Major League Baseball versus college football. There's a reason that the newly formed CSA College Sports Commission, there's a reason that the guy who's running it, both him and the person who's running the Big Ten, are both former baseball guys. They're former baseball guys that have a background in baseball, because baseball has a solid system that isn't rooted in national media. It's rooted in what kind of experience are you providing for your fans? There's a difference. That's why I'm telling you, you have to go and experience these things on your own. All right. So in terms of complementary value, the Marlins Stadium could simply do more for more people more often. As a former employee of the Miami Dolphins Foundation, and someone who's worked in sports outreach in this region. I get it now in a way I didn't when I was a younger fan. You can be mad about the Orange Bowl, but from a city development standpoint, it was the right call. Hear me, okay? You can be mad, and I get it. Listen, especially the way it got portrayed in 30 for 30. I mean, these people were hurting. These people were hurting because they showed the demolition of it, and it was like the Orange Bowl. Man, that's like tearing down the big house, or tearing down the horseshoe, or tearing down the Coliseum. It's not right. Or Doak Campbell Stadium, or the Swamp, all the legendary places. You do not tear that kind of stuff down. So they showed the demolition of the Orange Bowl, and it was hurting people. It was hurting. It was hurting people as they were describing it in the 30 for 30 that I watched. But from a city development standpoint, it was. You have to give them that. It was the right call. All right. So watch and learn. The rise and fall of the U. To truly understand the power of what was lost, I recommend watching both ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries, the U Part 1 and the U Part 2. They spotlight the program that rose to prominence on swagger, dominance, and controversy, but couldn't sustain that flame forever. It was a lightning in the bottle. And lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place, especially if this place is demolished. So, to give you some context here, this is when I say 30 for 30, this is what I'm talking about. And as you can see, just look at this picture before I even get to the U. You have in terms of the sports, right? Let's just go through. We have they break it down by sports. So 30 for 30, recent releases. The majority of it are their sport, their football, basketball stories, and they're documentaries that really go in depth. They're documentaries that really do go in depth. But here is the U Part 1, and then the U Part 2. And then you see Catholics versus convicts. Then you see the Boz, the 85 Bears, the four Falls of Buffalo, Ricky Williams, Sayal, Primetime, Deion Sanders, straight out of LA. It's a great series to watch. I've obviously gotten very hooked on watching it to where I kind of I have to get myself away from it. But the U Part 1 and 2 are things I definitely recommend you watch. Also, give you an idea, the U invented swagger, the whole thing for me. Watching it growing up, watching and seeing it, just being around during those times. You see the Vince Wilforks, the Ed Reeds of the world. Just Share Payton. Oh man, this is crazy. It's bringing back memories, man. Bringing back memories. Yeah, you see them, Hall of Fame. You see, it's just not the same at Hard Rock and all that kind of stuff, man. Yeah. Right. So let me go back to your article. So as you can see, it was a good time. But here's where the lesson comes in. As entrepreneurs, you got to understand there's a lesson when it comes to everything we do here. All right. So the entrepreneur lesson: build what scales. All right. Build what scales. Even when it's unpopular, you have to build what scales. Let me close you guys out with this last bit of the article. All right. One of the key traits of any entrepreneur is the ability to recognize when legacy has to give way to longevity. All right. You have to understand that. I get it's not going to be easy decisions, but longevity are the things that you're responsible for. As you're building your business and building out your concept and building your life, the question has to be about what's going to stand the test of time. How are you going to be able to take this move that you plan on making, this idea that you want to push forward, this new way of doing this new system, this new strategy, this new, you fill in the blank. Is it going to create long-term results and longevity? That's what we have to take away from today's lesson between the Orange Bowl and the University of Miami football program, between the Orange Bowl and the Miami Marlins Stadium. All right. Yes, you may love your origins, but if those origins no longer serve the mission, it may be time to evolve. just like the Marlins replaced the Hurricanes as the centerpiece of community development. You may need to pivot to a lane that supports your growth long term, even if it hurts a little, because at the end of the day, it's not about what you love doing. It's about what you can offer. Let's break down that last line right here, because a lot of folks, you're going to hear a lot of thought leaders, a lot of people out there telling you, guys, go, let me get a sip of water before I break this down. There's a lot of folks out there on the internet, especially on the internet, all right, quote unquote motivational speakers, or positive influencers, or whatever you want to call them, right? They're going to preach to you, you got to love what you do. Got to love what you do. You're going to hear that same rhetoric over and over and over again, which is not the reason that you hear it over and over again, because there are portions of it that is actually true. I love being on here every single day. I love talking sports. I love breaking down the game and taking elements of the game and applying them to businesses and taking parts of the businesses and learning new things. I love going to games. I love so many elements of what I do. I absolutely love. Yet, just loving what you do is not going to be enough. It's about what you can offer, because life is not just about you. All right. And this is where the teamwork element, so much of it gets lost in the motivational speaking world, or in the people that are influencers, and they're always talking about loving what you do. What gets lost is you got to love what you do, but you also got to make sure your offers are actually sustainable. You got to also make sure your offers make sense to other people. And that's going to require you to do some things that you don't particularly love, that you don't like, that you have to grow and develop, and that you have to learn this, and you have to pick up on that. And you have to say, all right, you know what? I got to make the sacrifice here, and I got to make a sacrifice there. Like, for me personally, would I have loved to, stay in the position I was when I was in Fort Lauderdale, where I was, working with the Dolphins and I was being able, as a boxing trainer, would I have loved to be able to work those two part-time jobs forever and, build out and then write books and do all that kind of stuff? Absolutely would have loved that. However, I can offer more now to the world as an educator, right? I can offer more now to the world as a person that works at a learning center, and I'm around other folks. I'm around other parents. I'm around other kids. I'm around other educators. I'm around other people that, again, I don't particularly like, but I'm at least learning how other educators are able to educate. All right, how their strategy in terms of educating other folks. So when I get my employee development workshops, and as in my employee development workshops are going, I'm now able to be flexible enough and be strategic enough to get better deals done, to get more things done in terms of how I offer it. Remember that yes, do what you love, and you're never gonna hear me tell you not to do what you love, but you also got to add into the fact there has to be some sort of offer that's connected to doing what you love, that's going to make sense for not only you but another person as well. All right, understand the concept of a win-win deal when you decide, and you're going to hear that a lot. If I'm not mistaken, I did say that quite a bit throughout the week. It might have been on one of the live streams or one of the Move Swiftly thoughts, but the win-win deals is the way you need to be thinking. Every single move that you make has to have the element of a win-win deal, or you just don't give yourself a possibility. You make life about you. And when you start making life about you, you start making things all about what you want and how you want to do it and what this is, eventually you will fail. And you will fail. It will hurt. It will hurt to the point because it'll happen over a period of time, because too often does it not get noticed and does it not get shut off and cut off. All right. So just to recap, we'll actually tomorrow we'll do a full recap episode of everything we talked about throughout the week. Just a kind of a briefing of what we discussed today. We talked about longevity, understanding longevity, and understanding that even though something would hurt in the moment, If you do it the right way and you think about the bigger picture, then things will start to make sense. And we just use the Orange Bowl and the Marlins Stadium as an example. All right. So again, if you're interested in diving deep, doing a deeper dive with me in regards to how we can utilize and I can come to your business and teach you how to do these things the right way, because it takes that. You as a person, you do not, a business owner listening to me now, it won't happen on your own. All right. You need other folks. You need other folks to come in and diagnose what's going on. This is specifically what I do in regards to employee development workshops and everything I'm all about. The main website to check out to dive deeper into all of that, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeymove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.